Hello, everybody at Coin Bros Gaming. It has been a long, long time since my last video, it feels like. Um when was my last video? That is a good question. So it's been like 4 months now, which is actually quite crazy to think about. Yeah, that's a very long time. So basically, what I want to be doing is trying to close the series into Limbo. So I did a playthrough. It took me 4 parts, I believe. So that is, a lot longer for how short of a game it is. So uh, hopefully, I can streamline these games so they're not like super, super long as I'm playing through them. But you can't. I can only do so much, I guess. So basically, what I'm going to be doing now is reviewing all these game theories because I don't really have too big of a theory. I guess I should say before I even start watching these is I think since it's been 4 months, my goodness, but the ending stays in my head. I have two theories. One, bad science experiments gone wrong in a lab, and it's caused like this like reality to be both in and out, like it's like multiple dimensions basically. Another theory I have, which I think is more plausible, is that a disaster happened just like the first time, but it is reality now, and he's just imagining what it would be if when he sees the girl at the end, like this is just happens to be him imagining what the world would be like, faded out memories. I guess there's a third theory I have is he's a ghost and he's just going through and none of this really matters. So I don't really have a theory to it. So let's watch some of these theories and see what we come up with.
Hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in today's video we take a look at Limbo and its ambiguous story, which has been the topic of discussion and much head scratching ever since this creepy puzzle platformer launched way back in July 2010. In Limbo, we assume the role of a young boy who awakens in a forest and seems drawn toward the light at all times, eventually discovering a young girl who is knelt before a treehouse at the end of his adventure. It's very mysterious, and with no dialogue or text at any point during this journey, everything relies on symbolism and the player's own imagination to connect those proverbial dots. If you haven't heard of Limbo before, don't worry, as this video aims not only to cover theories explaining the meaning behind the story of the game, but also briefly cover everything that happens from start to finish as well. So sit back, relax, and let's quickly cover Limbo step by step before trying to explain exactly what it's all about.
Okay, so right here, let's see what he was explaining in the intro. These photos here I thought were significant because they were pictures at various points in the timeline. So I thought that was very interesting. Also, Limbo is not in every photo. In fact, I don't think he's in any of these photos. No, he's not. Very interesting. So, yeah, I guess let's go. And also, too, I'm not going to just like play the entire video and just have it rolling through. I'm going to skip to parts where I think are interesting about these theories, and then also my reactions. So,
however, he soon discovers that spiders are not the only predators out there, coming face to face with a tribe of older boys all armed with deadly blowpipes and booby traps. Throughout this tribe's hunting ground, we see dead bodies hanged and drowned, victims.
Yeah, that is interesting because he did talk about how he said boys there, and if you think about it, all the other people that we see in this are actually around his height. So I never thought about that.
Eventually, the tribe catches up with the boy, and he must use their own mechanical traps to defeat them.
Tribe, and he's saying that they're their own mechanical traps. I don't know if it's their traps. I feel like they're just repurposing that. I don't think he uses their own traps against them because I don't think it's their traps because they died like they do like this. Yeah, not I don't think it's theirs. They were, I believe, unaware.
We encounter a strange maggot-like bug, which has the ability to attach itself to the boy's head and burrow into his brain, controlling the direction of his movement. They are susceptible to the light shafts from above, and so scalding them on this light is the only way to alter their control over our character.
And that is something very interesting. It seems like we are in a building inside of a building at times. Like this isn't like a building, like in like a almost like as if the atmosphere has like some type of like dome over it. And then we go into a warehouse later on, and then we come out of the warehouse and we're like still in like a building, even though it looks like outside. It kind of looks like that, unless it's just the rainforest kind of thing and sun shining through the leaves.
To remove them from his mind, the boy must locate these strange creatures who hang from cracks in the ceiling and seem to enjoy chowing down on brain bugs.
Brain bugs.
At this point, the boy's surroundings slowly begin to transform from the natural forests and caves to more man-made industrial landscapes.
Yep.
He carefully navigates his way down into the depths of this man-made industrial hell and enters a factory full of buzzsaws and other instruments of death.
Other instruments of death. That's funny.
The boy manages to finally snag a ride towards the light and possibly a way to escape this nightmarish world for good. Unfortunately, the Hornet's leg snaps and the boy must continue on, his safe haven just out of reach. He navigates the interior of giant machines full of cogs, which when rotated, turn the entire environment on its head. Some of these areas are pitch black, save for a single light source, making progress incredibly challenging and often a leap of faith.
Basically. I think they were, I mean, I got stuck there for quite a bit, but they weren't that hard. Anyway.
At the end of this gauntlet, time slows to a crawl as the boy bursts through a pane of glass and slams into the dirt of the forest he started his journey in at the beginning of the game.
So beautiful.
From here, the boy awakens once again and makes his way up the hill, where he discovers a young girl digging in the dirt below a treehouse. She seems to sense his presence as he quietly approaches. And yes, that's it. This mysterious cliffhanger is indeed where the game ends. There is a secret final level which can be unlocked if we collect all 10 eggs hidden throughout the boy's adventure.
What? There's a secret level? I have to release a part 5? Oh. Oh. I don't know if I want to do that. Let's just finish this.
Sadly, while this new area offers some challenging puzzles to overcome, it doesn't offer anything story-wise. So then, what is the meaning of Limbo? And what exactly happens at the end? Well, there have been many theories over the years, but very few vary on anything other than the meaning of that one final shot. The dictionary defines the term limbo as the following. In some Christian beliefs, the supposed abode of the soul's unbaptized infants and of the just who died before Christ's coming. An uncertain period of awaiting a decision or resolution, an intermediate state or condition. From these definitions and the black and white surreal look and feel of the world this young boy explores, it is fairly easy to conclude that this is indeed his limbo state, a world he has entered after death in order to qualify for entry into either heaven or hell, a place where his soul must either find eternal peace or eternal damnation. It seems that in order to find peace, this boy must locate the young girl who he strives to encounter throughout his journey, but only manages to reach at its end. She is his true escape from this limbo. We'll get to why that is in a minute, but first we need to explain a little bit about what this limbo represents, and how the boy found himself here in the first place.
Interesting theory. It makes sense. I mean, if you look up just the limbo, but basically, like, I don't think I don't think that necessarily this is what it is. Limbo made like it's like in the middle life, you're trying to find like heaven or hell, maybe. I didn't really get that depth in the game. That anyway.
The one constant across most Limbo theories out there is found when looking at the explanation of this Limbo world. It is commonly believed that each of the dangers this boy encounters are representations of events and things he feared during life. So the spider represents his arachnophobia, the rising water his fear of drowning stemming from an inability to swim. The tribe of older boys represents his peers, other kids or teenagers who would bully him and cause him a great deal of pain and anxiety during his time on Earth. The mind control grubs would then represent the boy's feeling of powerlessness during times of anxiety and depression. As the game concludes, areas become darker and almost impossible to navigate, which seem to represent the boy's fear of darkness and also isolation during life. Of course, this darkness may well also represent death's grasp itself, as the boy heads closer and closer to his transition from Limbo to the other side. So all of these dangers were fears that plagued the boy while he was alive, and therefore he must overcome them in order for his soul to rest in peace. This also suggests that areas in the game also symbolise important events in this child's life. The hotel is a very prominent landmark, for example, and perhaps a place where something very bad happened to the boy or his family, a building which held a dark history in his mind. The factory full of buzzsaws was likely a place where his mother or father worked, and again potentially a source of anxiety for this boy due to how loud and dangerous a work environment it was. It's also important to note the guns we run into at certain points of this adventure. They resemble the kind of guns manufactured during World War II, and the game's entire aesthetic has a very 1920s feel. With this in mind, it may be that these factories were
1920s, that makes sense.
Manufacturing weapons for the war. Something that understandably people feared at the time, and so may have played into the boy's subconscious and therefore appear in his Limbo.
Could be the Vietnam War, like you said, true.
One location which is easier to place is the forest. This is because two very key events happen here. One would be the boy's awakening, both at the beginning and end of Limbo's story. The second would be the treehouse the little girl sits below, a treehouse that seems to be in ruin. The ladder is broken and the structure collapsed. And before the boy reaches this treehouse, the slow motion crash through the window. Such a random event on the surface it would seem. This is where theories begin to split off and explanations vary.
Alright, let's find out. I'll use the restroom. Alright, back.
Many believe the smashing window pane represents the death of this young boy. He was involved in a car accident in this forest, smashing through the windscreen on impact and landing in a crumpled mess on the forest floor.
That is an interesting concept. That, quite amazing. Quite amazing theory there.
He then awakens to search the forest for the soul of the other passenger who died in the accident, his little sister. The two.
Okay, that's cooking theories. Those theories are nice. Let's go.
Reunite by a landmark from their childhood, their old treehouse, and after finding peace in Limbo, journey together to the afterlife. After beating the game, we are returned to the main.
Okay. I can believe that. Now it makes more sense.
Menu, which now displays this treehouse. However, both the boy and girl are gone. In their place are two swarms of flies hovering above the ground, representing the resting place of two bodies. This car crash theory also explains why the game features several zero-gravity based puzzles toward the end. These anti-gravity moments symbolise the weightlessness the boy felt during his final moments as he was flung from the car and through its windscreen.
Makes sense.
However, other theories suggest the girl is in fact waiting below this treehouse because this is where she and her brother both passed away after falling to their deaths when the ladder collapsed on their way up. This would explain the condition of the treehouse and also why the girl waits here for her brother's arrival. On this basis, the boy's entry through the window would symbolise his escape from Limbo and entry into heaven, the place where, once again, he finds peace with his sister.
Interesting. I like the first one better.
Another theory notes the girl is not dead at all. Instead, she is burying her brother's body in the soil below the treehouse he died in.
Now, that's just dark and sad. I don't like that theory. Don't like that one at all. Nope.
It is believed by certain religions that a soul cannot escape Limbo until the body has been laid to rest, so this theory is based around
What if you drowned? Or got burned? Or cremated? Is your soul just floating around? Just hanging out? Or maybe you become a fish. Maybe that's what they believe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. If you believe that you have to be buried, then, boy, there's a lot of different ways you can die without being buried, let me tell you.
that concept. The boy's sister lays him to rest and then senses his spirit is behind her, which causes her to abruptly sit up in shock. The game ends so suddenly because the boy leaves Limbo at this very point and reaches the light he has been searching for this entire time.
But that's also a plausible explanation. How are we supposed to know? Anyway.
That light representing a heavenly afterlife away from the dangers of this purgatory realm. These are the three main explanations for Limbo's story, and personally I feel that this is a game where the developers didn't want any easy answers to be found. Limbo can mean pretty much whatever we want it to. This is one of the reasons why its story has been discussed so pervasively over the last decade since its original release. It's also because it's a fantastically original game like no other, so why not check it out if you like what you saw here today. With that said, this has been a video explaining Limbo and its story, and I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like, comment, and of course subscribe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you want to, like, comment, and subscribe on this video or Super Horror Bros channel, if you care for that type of thing. Let's check out another one. Okay, so far I haven't seen the other theories, which are my personal ones, just happen to think of, which aren't that awesome compared to these ones here. So, you know, that maybe, I guess the ghost thing was one of my theories. So they're kind of like three different aspects of the ghost. Okay, well, let's continue. Oh, this looks funny. Limbo with a flashlight.
Ooh. Phew.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So the full story explained. All right, cool. Let's see. Let's see here.
Limbo takes place in a surreal world depicted in a monochrome tone, adding more to the ambiguity of the story. Something that we will talk about in today's video. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. This video will contain spoilers about Limbo and Inside. With that,
We don't have to care about spoilers because, I mean, I played the 4 parts. You guys watched the 4 parts, right? You watched all 4, all the way through, not skipping, pausing, not skipping, maybe just watching this instead of watching those playthroughs. You wouldn't do that, right? 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 Anyway, we'll continue.
in mind, let's begin.
Wrap them up.
By playing both of the games, Inside and Limbo, I have formed some personal interpretations, which I will tell the story.
Okay, we're going to have to come back to this video because I do plan on playing the other one, Inside. So we'll skip this one, come back to this one at a later date. Ending finally explained. All right, let's see here.
Playdid's 2010 title Limbo has a special place in my heart. It was the first game which I was given legit critic access to. With the game just having left Xbox Game Pass, I thought I would take another look at it. I mean, I've played the Xbox 360 Live Arcade version. This is the Xbox One version. Is there much of a difference? Maybe it's resolution. It's amazing the amount of detail you can get out of stark contrast black and white.
True. It is amazing. And also the fact that you got to review this game is kind of dope before it came out. And then also, yeah, the fact they released on Xbox One, and look at the fidelity. Oh my goodness. It's so much better. And the smoothness, the frames per second on this, and the contrast is so much better than on the PC.
Puzzles are not necessarily fun, but they're challenging and rewarding, all the while the controls are more than forgiving. But if there is one parting thing to be said about this great title, I would like to give my interpretation of the game's ending. Now, my original review back in 2010, I was a little harsh on the game for its storytelling choice, in that only in the description of the game in the Xbox Store was there a story. A boy uncertain of his sister's fate enters Limbo. And during the game you do encounter the sister.
Wait.
And during the game, boy uncertain of
Description: uncertain of his sister's fate, a boy enters Limbo. Yeah. Oh my goodness, though. Wait a minute. But that might change the theories, though, because he's uncertain of his sister's fate. So the boy's uncertain of his sister's fate. He enters Limbo. So he's like looking for his sister in Limbo. Interesting. Or before he enters, whatever. Let's go.
Of his sister's fate enters Limbo. And during the game you do encounter the sister. She appears to be in the Limbo state, and at the very end you actually crash through a barrier and reunite with her. So the player does feel a sense of accomplishment. But I don't see this as a happy ending. I believe that the boy has broken through Limbo, and maybe he is now in a more idyllic realm like heaven, joining his deceased sister. But if you give it some thought, I think you have to conclude that they have both died. Just check out this transition in the ending credits. And from this point forward, this is your new welcome screen. A rotten ladder with 2 clumps of flies.
Oh, and also the ladder is more dilapidated than it was before. It used to come down here, but now it's completely dilapidated. Interesting.
Eyes buzzing about over the grass. Why is that? Why 2 groups of flies? Because in the reality of it, that boy and girl are rotting.
Okay.
If you appreciate a YouTube channel that doesn't just pad out content to get to the 8-minute mark so that it can hammer you with ad breaks, then you should subscribe to my son's channel. You just got done watching it.
I mean, that was a super short theory. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see this little short.
Lauded as an indie game masterpiece from 2010, Limbo offers an unforgettable experience with its monochromatic 2D world, immersing players in its dark and hostile realm. The game's brilliance lies in its seamless gameplay design, importing mechanics effortlessly without the need for any instructions to the player, as, through intuitive exploration, players learn the boy's capabilities themselves and the boundaries of life and death.
Although, I did have to look up the controls for grabbing, which was control. I had to look up in the settings for the control key on my keyboard so I can control things in the game, which is an interesting button to use because in order to grab things in the game, you need to click the physical control key to control things in the game. But yeah, no, I had to look it up. I needed help. The car. Okay, I have to read this, and there's no description added to this video. SAP 3617. Oh boy, good. This game is a gem. Okay, well, here we go. The car is in its final moments of the crash. His seatbelt dislodges. The boy then flies from his seat, crashing through the window of the car. As the car stops in the midst of the crash, the sudden stop being the force that initially sent him to his death, with the seatbelt no longer able to restrain him as it became dislodged from this brutal crash. A lot of repetitive words. This is literally my favorite part of the game, was at the ending of right there. I don't know what it was. It just felt magical. Like, look at that. When he finally hits the ground, this is the cause of death, so therefore he has died. Guys, this is the cause of death, so therefore he has died. Yep, that's about right. If you die, you're dead. I don't know what else to say. And he enters Limbo, just as he did at the start of the game, only the player hadn't seen what he had just gone through before now. Why? Waking up with the same purpose the game sets in stone for him from the very beginning, finding his sister. Okay. Wow, this is a long scene. He now awakens in Limbo. Okay, so he thinks now he's in Limbo. The whole time he wasn't, but now he is. He then tries to find his sister to see if she's alive, not realizing that he is dead, and thus his sister is most likely dead as well. This, like, I used to kind of do this a little bit back in the day, where I tried to make something sound more intelligent than it actually was, and I can still do that. But then he says the way he's phrasing these sentences are not 100% coherent or logical. You could shorten it and it'd be just as powerful, I think. Actually, it would make more sense. Or perhaps she survived, and her mother and father survived the crash, and she was playing at her and her brother's favorite spot to play in the backyard of their house, just below their treehouse. Okay. All right. That's a major theory. Treehouse ladder. She doesn't immediately turn around because he's not really... Oh, my goodness. She doesn't immediately turn around because he's not really there, but she feels a presence or a presense, which is why she straightens her back and seems somewhat aware of the boy's presence. Oh my goodness. That someone is there, okay? He is simply the life force of himself, but he's no longer alive. So when he realizes this, as he knows that he cannot make direct contact with his sister who is still in the real world, the game ends because he did what he sought out to do, to find his sister, to make sure she was okay, but she was mourning his death at the spot they used to play the most in his past life. That's so sad. I didn't realize this scene was that sad. It was make me want to cry. Perhaps his sister died at a much later date and time, but the thing is that if his sister had died as well, Why wasn't she looking for her brother as well? She wouldn't be aware of the fact that she was dead, just as the boy didn't know he was dead either. Or maybe they both did. But one thing is certain, they both clearly died in the end because there are flies. One thing's for certain, they're both dead, guys. They're both dead. Oh, the way you put that was funny. Just above the two spots where they were before the game ended and went to the credit scene. This appears to be a car. I never looked at it. It could be a wrecked car. The car's in the same spot that their treehouse used to be. The reason the car is in the tree, in place of the tree. Wait. The reason the car is in the tree, in place of the treehouse, is because it's supposed to be a metaphor of sorts. I don't know. Like, it could be a car, but then again, it looks like that's stick and a stick. I don't know, man. The reason the car is in the tree is placed in the house because it's supposed to be a metaphor of sorts. It represents the thing that created a great gap between the brother and sister and some of their fondest memories. It's what ended their memories, and it's why the little girl was at this very spot mourning his death because it meant everything to her, just as she meant everything to him, as he fought like heck to find her, to make sure she was okay. But why are the memories of her and her brother playing together their fondest of their lives, instead of something more meaningful? Why aren't their parents a part of it? And if she's indeed alive, why wouldn't her parents be there with her? I mean, all these are good, valid questions. Mourning their son's death just as she was. Why aren't the parents mentioned anywhere? Why aren't the parents mentioned anywhere in the game or referenced to it at all? Well, I have one or two theories that I feel answers the questions. These questions. All right, let's see. Oh my goodness. Theory one. Their parents were abusive. Okay, starting out right like that. And this is why the boy didn't care to look for his parents. Dang! Maybe he was his little sister's protector, her rock, her shield, the one she went to in times of pain and despair. Which is why the first thing he thought of when he awoke was to find his sister to make sure she was alive and okay. I mean, to be honest, though, it's a valid point. Because it was all that he had known since he was born, the one thing he lived for, what kept him going. Their lives must have been very despairful, which is why the game has such a bleak and depressing look and feel to it, because it's all the boy has ever known. So his limbo was a representation of his life. Now he constantly is fighting so many cruel and unforgiving scenarios of pain and neglect in his past life, and he is doing just that to find his sister, even after he died, but in a much more exaggerated and distorted way. Possibly going through trauma. I can believe that. Theory two. Goodness gracious, I'm so glad it's shorter. They're only children, and in a child's mind, playtime is usually more important to them than something like Christmas morning or a special family occasion such as a wedding or family dinner. Okay, Christmas morning, though, for kids' memories is also very big, but I can see his point, at least for me. But I feel that theory one is much more probable scenario if it fits much more with the game's art style, tone, and mood. And I feel like it adds up much more to theory one than it does in theory two. Yeah. In the end, there is no definite answer, as the game gives no true basis for its story and what the beginning or ending really means. But one thing is certain. Reality isn't always as it seems. We ourselves would be in limbo every single day. Maybe we're all dead. We just don't know it. Don't think so. Think that's not right, but all right, we'll go on. Although, I do say one thing. I think there is more. There is more depth. There is actually more truth to life being a simulation than there is not. But I don't think we're simulated as if nothing matters. But I think that there's a creator and we're created. So, like, if we make a video game, obviously those aren't living creatures. But if we make a video game and it's our creation, we could do what we want with it. I think it's similar to how God is with his people, or you could say creator with his creation. He built it. He can do whatever he wants with it. Anyway, moving on. Whether it's cancer, depression, the loss of a loved one, we're always fighting something, all the while searching for a purpose to keep going. And this boy achieved what he sought out to do. even if it didn't end the way he or ourselves expected to. It ended regardless. Isn't that what we're all searching for? An ending, a resolution, a purpose, something or someone to protect and love? Are we all stuck in limbo? It could be. I mean, I think not just could be. I think that we are a lot of times. Like we're stuck in a state of disillusion and like not knowing what full reality is. And a lot of that has to do with just the fact that everybody talks. I mean, there's so much out there that you can like go for. For us to find the truth in things is so hard, especially with the internet. The internet is supposed to clear things up, and it didn't for a lot of people. Made it worse. So I'm not saying internet's bad at all, but it's goes two ways, good and bad. So yeah, I do like this the second to last line. Something or someone to protect and love. Protecting and loving somebody is very important. I would say it's one of the most important things you can do. Yeah, you know what? Let's comment on this guy. Let's say I like theory one, and your ending statement was decent, thought provoking. All right, I don't know if we'll ever see that. Okay, let's go to cool. Okay, two more videos, guys, and then we can finally end this monstrosity.
Playdead's Limbo, a 2D side-scroller horror psychological experience designed in such a smart way to deliver disturbing, sensitive, shocking, and terrifying experience all in one package without a single line of dialogue.
Dang! What a description! My goodness. I could not give a better description of that, man. He did, and he went on for a whole 15 seconds.
Over the course of its lifetime, ever since Playdead released Limbo the game to the market, to this day, even in 2020, with this video as a proof, fans in the community have been theorizing the plot, storyline of the game, what happened to the main character, what was that glass-shattering ending, literally, and most importantly, the main menu. What does it all mean? In this video, we will dive deep into the story and elements of the game Limbo and try to analyze and explain this amazing experience. First off, right off the bat, Limbo's only description to the world is uncertain of his sister's fate. A boy enters Limbo. Now, even though this is barely anything, this actually helps us a lot. We established that there is a number one, an event, tragedy that occurred to these kids, and most importantly, boy's sister is the main plot, the purpose. We play as that boy who is uncertain what happened to his sister, whilst he himself is in the state of limbo. There are many theories over the course of this game's lifetime. Many start with religious explaining. I'll take not so different approach, but call it a state where worlds are colliding inside the boy's head. Everything he's going to go through from this point onwards is all in his head. He has no control over it. Rather, he can only experience, see, and hear those occurrences that shape up in an unending nightmare inside this limbo. The reason I call it unending is because by the end of this game, we will explain the entire thing in just a second, but by the end of this game, the boy almost restarted the entire experience, but there's a little detail that resonated with me. You see, the boy shows no emotions throughout the journey, this chaos and massacre that only has one thing against this boy, and that is death. A lot of deaths. However, he has this shock face for a while as he don't know where he is, like the limbo restarts all over again, but each experience, albeit similar and same to the previous one, is new for him. I'll put it out there before we get into the deep part of the story is that this experience that we had may not be his first, second, or even third, but our goal is to put an end to this cycle of nightmare and stop this limbo once and for all. That's where his sister comes in. Now let's go back all the way to the beginning of the game. The game starts with the boy waking up in the forest. You've been unconscious. You struggle to get up at first, but you get the courage to get up, the eagerness to find your sister, her fate. Large portion of the game happens outside, meaning the forest area, and here you encounter multiple main threats. We'll start the biggest threat of them all, a giant spider. What does this threat mean and all these threat means? We'll get to that. But this giant spider is one enemy that really is the biggest threat to this boy's life in this limbo, and no matter what, it keeps on following it, trying to rip this boy into half over and over again. It follows you everywhere, wherever you go, it knows where you are. It only makes moves when you're in vulnerable position. Keep this detail in mind. Eventually, you, the boy, get a miraculous chance to eliminate your biggest threat and you take it, finally removing it out of your way, only to be found again, but this time you realize it isn't the spider. It's gone for good, but there are actual people, real people that are out there trying to kill you in any way, shape, or form. This is where my mind connected this game's world with that of the Inside, another game from the same developers. Either way, they use all tactics they can, weapons, machinery, eliminating by their own bare hands, force, you name it. But the boy carries through with the purpose and hope of finding his sister. Two critical and lore elements need to keep in mind moving forward. Water. Every time there is a need to swim across, it has made clear that the boy can't swim. He can't even try. That shows his fear of drowning. We'll get there eventually, but two most important points. One is the fireflies. Around every time there is a light with a slight change in music, and most importantly, these slugs, goose, slime that get stuck on your head, making you so helpless and leaving you at its mercy. The only way to change their one dimension direction is, like mentioned earlier, the light. Only then they change their direction, and then in order to get rid of them, you have to feed them to these creatures. We don't talk about them creatures. We get many locations such as inside abandoned industrial area, a hotel, which then leads back to the forest for that glass shattering ending. During the ending, we see the boy after waking up again from being unconscious from that glass shattering. He finds himself around a tree house, fireflies, and most importantly, a girl. At first, he tries to get to her, but he couldn't, and then kind of restarting his journey all over again, but this time with hope that he will get to her next time. And the boy eventually gets closer. This time when he does, she gets a hint that he's behind her, and the game ends with credits being rolled. Now this might leave you all high and dry, but actually it's perfectly put together. The most notable thing is that right after credits, the main menu changes and you see the same area, but this time you see the treehouse being messed up, but most importantly, no boy or his sister. What happened in this game? Let's talk about it. Now here are my takes on everything that's been going around in this game, as we are aware about many theories surrounding a literal glass breaking ending being linked to a car crash or an accident around forest. I'm here to present a different angle. See, I believe that this is a story about a boy and his sister who would go out on an adventure and get to their treehouse often. Treehouse is a very common in mainstream stories where the world is either collapsed, all hopes are abandoned, or just in general the area is somewhat deserted. Families who are broken or aren't even families at all, or victims, are part of hunger. Their kids or kids in that home tend to make treehouse their adventure area, their entertainment playground. And with that ending main menu, there's a reason the devs are called Play Dead. But what does that even supposed to mean? There are multiple layers to this story, so bear with me as I explain them to you one by one. Firstly, the world. This forest, factory, and hotel, all of them have few things in common. They're all abandoned, but most importantly, they have machinery, traps, electricity, and stuff that were clearly used and were in use back in the day, but just left to collect dust. There's a reason electricity is so powerfully tight in this world, or that anti-gravity in the factory still works as intended supposedly, or that hotel sign were all in place. All of this points towards this being a very cruel time of the history. War and war days, the massacre, carnage that the war created, the havoc, the impact that it had is clearly shown through the visuals, broken boxes, half stairs, and so much more. One of the main giveaways were these people that started to attack this boy on sight. When the spider couldn't get the job done, these people knew exactly how to use those weapons, machinery, and how to set off those traps. But the biggest one of them all was the sequence where they started chasing the boy and took matters into their own hands. Their uniform, attitude, and weaponry use all suggests that they were part of an invasion during the attack that set off war from both sides. But these people were on the other side, not locals, and the boy was. Hence, seeing anyone from locals being alive is supposed to be killed right on sight. Or they could be the locals trying to defend themselves, or what's left of the locals trying to defend themselves, and seeing someone like this boy was a threat to them. One other giveaway was the dead bodies that were hanging. Many people committed suicide because there was nothing to live for. What is there left of this world? Everywhere are traps. These attackers are ready to kill whomever they see, even their own. No purpose, home, family, resources, nothing is left except the boy and his innocence, who's on the mission to find his sister. Continuing this point a bit. It surprises me why no one talks about this advanced technology of this world, which is no use at this point, but still, at one point this part in specific must be a hub. Not saying that the locals were innocent, but innocent from the locals suffered from the war. It is clear that they came prepared. So are the defenders. Anti-gravity, auto machine guns, magnets. All these advancements in technology clearly points towards damage that was out of control. I can point out more evidence.
Interesting. Also, yeah, I never thought about like it actually being like war and then everything is like, I heard the theory from the other guy, Super Horror Bro, but like everything's actually wrapped around the war. That is an interesting theory. I'm not quite sure where we're going to end up with this video, but we'll see.
But to be honest, what does all of this has anything to do with the little boy and his sister? Well, as we've seen, many committed suicide. Many died in front of us. The boy and his sister would always play on their tree house, which is actually located in a quite remote area of the forest, something that would get overlooked in midst of chaos. Tragic event happened. That led to the boy getting unconscious. That unconsciousness led him to this limbo. Everything being black and white, where sometimes things get so dark that it is so scary, and even small light with fireflies are beacon of hope for life. Boy going unconscious doesn't mean he's in hospital or in home or bed. He's exactly there the time he went unconscious. This is a dark world with dark material. Spider, which was the biggest threat, was his death, knocking his door at all times, severing its presence, casting its dark shadow over the boy's life. In real world, he knew this treehouse won't protect him and his sister forever, but he has to fight back to survive. He has to keep going. All these mechanics have deep meanings. Fear of drowning. The goose on the head is the feeling of helplessness, controlled by the events surrounding the world, unfortunate events that he has no control over, but to oblige, getting used to, and adapting to that world. But in the end, one tiny detail many missed is that the post-credits main menu shows broken treehouse. The same treehouse boy and his sister made to protect themselves. What happened to it? Exactly. Destroyed. The war went on. No one survived. Everyone was destroyed. But most importantly, the fates of the boy and his sister was also revealed, as two piles of flesh, supposedly remains of them, were hinted, with flies surrounding the bodies. This is where the boy initially woke up, in theory, and where we can assume he went unconscious, and this is where we saw his sister doing something on the ground. Take whichever you want, but one way to look at it is that they were both attacked during the war. Their treehouse was destroyed. The boy went unconscious and his sister died right next to him after burying him right there. That's the reason he got closure. That's how he ended his limbo. It was his sister who made his suffering over. Her burying him right there, not completely, but just enough so that the boy's soul would find peace. Or secondly, that the girl was attacked and killed right afterwards. And how do we know that? It's because the reason she gasped when he got near her, it wasn't because she was excited to see her brother or feel his presence, but it was her turning and gasping after the boy died and she tried to help, and that would explain the distance between two bodies. Regardless, we can confirm that the boy's sister didn't make it, neither did he himself. Both bodies right next to each other, right next to their treehouse. However, the boy's soul wasn't at peace. It was in constant limbo until his sister put an end to it. Seeing his dead sister was safe, even for a brief second that his life meant something for her, was enough for him to find peace, to end this limbo right and their playground, which was dead zone at all time. Play Dead's Limbo.
I don't care for that theory at all. All right. Last one.
Oh, it's just Jord.
Oh my.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another theory video, and today we're mixing up the bag a bit and we're going to tackle a theory on Limbo. And I acknowledge that I am a few years late on the matter at hand, but saying that, I am actually 8 years late. But alas, I do have something to add to the barrel of theories on the game. So let me tell you what I think about the poor Limbo boy's adventure, all the way up to the end and or start. With each part I'll explain why I think it and how it matches the game, for instance. And don't forget guys, if you've got a theory or an idea or something you want to add to it, don't be afraid to comment below. Nothing is wrong, unless it's blatantly said no by developers or something. Nothing will ever be factually wrong unless proven otherwise. So, if you want to have a go in the comments below, and let's jump into this theory. So, in my theory, the family of Limbo, let's suggest it's called that. So the boy, the sister, and the parents, so we haven't run into it all yet, they decide to go on an adventure holiday or a camping holiday where they want to get away from the real struggles of home life around maybe the 1940s or 50s. Now, I get the 1940s and 1950s simply because of the use of mechanisms. Like in the game, we know it's mainstream to use levers, counterweights, pressure point, things like that. These sort of things are commonly used within that sort of time period. So that's why I went with that. So, moving on from that point, deciding on the location of the holiday, they choose a place far out into the woods, like a forest or something, somewhere where they can be far away from city life as they can be. They want to embrace the air, the wildlife and around it, and upon choosing the holiday or camping destination, they have to spend a night en route to a hotel or motel. Now, you're familiar with this because towards the middle or end of the game, we see a hotel sign, and I'm not going to bring that up just yet, but keep it in mind for in future. So they go on a holiday, they pick their location, and now before they get to the location, because it's so far out, they have to spend a night at a motel or hotel. After arriving at the site or the camp or wherever they're setting up, they start to take part in their activities like collecting wood, building a swing from a leftover tyre in dad or mum's car, for example. Then they begin to collect food and heat them up, with the food being attached to spears. And notice how some of these, or most of these objects, are used in-game. For example, if they're on a camping trip or whatever in the forest, they could be using bear traps just to make sure they're safe from the bears around them. And this is how I feel most of the traps are formatted. They're quite set up basic on instinct, so you need this to go there. That's how the traps are set up, so you get caught in the bear traps. And also not to forget the bare necessities, things like collecting firewood, using big logs of wood to sit on, for example, like we see the one in the Limbo Boy push onto the water so we can jump across. Many instances of that happening. And using spears is a way to heat up the food from a distance, or yet again protect the camp itself. Now here's where I think it gets interesting, and this is where I speculate on this theory. But
I don't agree with any of his premises there about the camping trip. It just doesn't sound coherent enough, and it sounds like it sounds more, I guess theories are cherry picking, but it specifically sounds like he's cherry picking.
After a few days of being in the forest, I believe that the sister must become quite ill, which makes her very sleepy and unresponsive. More likely, this is due to the free-roaming giant maggots in the forest. And I mean, come on, we know that these maggots, for example, have the ability to alter your motor functions, like we see with the boy when it attaches to the head and infects the brain. It maneuvers the boy on its own will. Now, who's to say that as well as manipulating these bodies to a point that they've probably never been extended to, that these don't carry infections? Now, it's highly likely that maybe she was bit during the night, or she ran into one in the water, or just generally in the forest and caught an infection, which has obviously made her temperature spike. She's very delusional, she's not very active, she's overheating, she's heating up. And because of this, the family feel like they have to, and who wouldn't? I mean, they have to take the girl to the hospital. They have to rush right back and get her medical attention. Now, let's take all what we know so far, and we can take all the information that we've gained from this somewhat backstory, and we can implement it into Limbo, the game. But the story doesn't end there, and as they run back to the hospital, rush back, this is where the memorable moment of the game happens, and it's quite a wide theory that's accepted among the community, which it holds its weight. It's not a bad theory at all. But when I read this theory, I wanted to implement it into my own theory, and by George, it fit like a jigsaw piece. But anyway, back to the backstory. This is the bit where they rush back to hospital, but where this kicks off is they have a car crash, and this car crash. They crash the car, they flip, the windows break, manic things are happening, and this puts the boy into the coma.
But then, while this is happening, I think this is what finally kills off the sister. And this is why I don't think the sister has lit up eyes towards the end of the video, but we'll get more into that later.
Interesting
So now
point.
take that backstory information and implement it into the game we know today. So we know the boy moves in the right direction because it was the last way he knew to go, because, you know, they were backtracking towards the hospital, and the end goal is the sister, and that's where she is. It's all the way to the right, so the goal is clear. And at the start of the game, you start it in the forest with the use of wood objects like wooden logs, bear traps, tires, and the list goes on. Like, there's so many correlations between that and you could have from maybe the start of the backstory. And then throughout the wood, they go into, like, you know, I call it like the clockworks of the city, if you will, where it's all mechanically based and it's all city life type thing. And then in the game, we have the big scene where he crashes through the mirror or the window, which is the big car crash kicker. And the window is breaking, which simulates in the game. And then after this, the level seems to flip from top to bottom a lot, and I believe this simulates the rolling of the car in the crash, you see. And when it comes to the end of the game, we know the true ending is kind of a symbolism for the sister has to be dead. Like I said earlier, the eyes are out, there is no more of her sister remains. Maybe she was in the coma, which were representing Limbo as well, so she was alive but not alive in a sense. But that's where the boy is now, and she is now ascending onto heaven. And I only say that because of the ladder beside her, and there was a light above the ladder, you see. And I think that is just a massive symbolism for the girl is now gone, but the boy's story is unknown, and he's left in his coma. So to basically sum up my theory, the family go on holiday, misfortune happens with the sister getting ill, they rush back to hospital. During the rush back, they have a car crash, which in the crash finally kills off the sister, but then also puts the boy in a coma. And the game is a representation of the boy's coma and what he went through within the past maybe 3 or 4 days or few hours. But that is basically where I'd like to end the theory. Now, if you have any ideas or any questions about the theory, let me know and I will comment below and answer.
I mean, that's a simplistic theory. I mean, I don't really necessarily agree with that one. Oh my goodness. There's another one, guys. There's another one. Should we do one more? We should totally do one more. Oh, I have to read this one? Okay. All right. Fine. Here we go. Developed by Microsoft. After the game was released, or it was published by Microsoft Studios, but developed by Playdead. After the game was released, players have started to question the story behind this game after they initially finished it. Following information is not a theory. It is the closest that I could get to the truth of this game. Oh, he's saying it's true, not theory. Also, if you're still playing Limbo and don't want to get spoiled, stop watching this video. There will also be spoilers to other games and TV shows in this video, and I'll have a warning before presenting them. Okay, that's fine. What we know. Uncertain of his sister's fate, a boy enters Limbo. This is the amount of information that we get about this game before we purchase it. If this is something I can pull out of this small little description, is that the boy enters Limbo on purpose in the hope of finding his sister. On purpose? You think I'm on purpose? But that's not true at all. The boy did not choose to be there, and neither his sister. I will state the obvious right now. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Are you ready? Okay, here's the obvious thing. They're all dead. They're all dead, guys. Everybody's dead. Again. Nobody is alive. All dead. Okay. Let's continue. Every person you see in this game is deceased. Okay. The game never says that with the game ever says that with its title, Limbo. Okay. Limbo is purgatory is a place where people end up after dying. It's a place where you get to finish something that started while they were alive. It's a place between heaven and hell. It is stated that everything in limbo or purgatory is on their way to heaven. Or hell. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know the whole purgatory theory. I didn't ever researched it too much. I don't think purgatory, well, I know purgatory doesn't exist, but well, no, I should say I know. I'm fairly certain purgatory doesn't exist. But one of those things that's very interesting about the theories about purgatory is there's so much unknown, and everybody has a slightly different theory about it. So I think dreams are probably our closest thing to some type of limbo state that we ever go through on a regular basis. Now, back to our theory. We now know that they're all dead. Wow, he's really impacting. He is just absolutely laying it into us. And that the nameless boy is desperately looking for his sister, encountering numerous enemies in his journey. Previous life. The first question we want to answer is what happened to them before they ended up in limbo? How did they die? What caused the boy to lose his sister and look for her in this place? Throughout the game, we walk past a lot of things that are related to their previous lives. The big spider, for example, is normal for a child to be afraid of spiders. The spider, your enemy, is a reflection of the boy's previous life, and his fears are now coming at him. That I understand. Good theory. The hotel is another place related to the boy's life. My guess is that they died there. Oh, his theory is that they died in the hotel. Okay, do explain. And the boy is now forced to walk past those places. It is what limbo itself makes you go through to find what you are looking for. This music, bro. A theory that got my attention was about the boy not being so innocent as he looked like. This is due to the fact that a group of strangers are trying to stop him from advancing through. That they say that the boy killed his sister, but got killed as well, so he is now trying to find her. What? That is false, simply because there's nothing that would get us to think that the boy is a villain. In fact, at the end of the game, we see his sister digging supposedly his grave, but I will get to that later. Yeah, that's an odd theory. The group of people trying to stop the boy could possibly be a bunch of bullies from the boy's previous life. That makes sense. The boy will only enter places and enemies that he's afraid of. Will encounter places and enemies that he's afraid of. The forest, spider, the hotel. Hence why there are people trying to stop him. Plus, who do you think those people are in the first place? Do you possibly think they are victims who got killed by the boy and are now trying to stop him from killing the sister? No. I feel like he's going on a tangent. If they are in the game, it is possible they got killed in a previous life, but that wouldn't make our character the killer. It would. I'll explain that soon. Where and how they died. Wait, Daddy said? It will all be explained soon. Okay, so he's doing this build-up. I don't think they died in the forest. I think the forest is a representation of the boy's perspective about being lost. A dark forest is another fear of a child, but a hotel, I'd say not. I'd say they died somewhere next to the hotel and their bodies were hidden behind it. Okay, very specific. Maybe the enemies are just the boy's fear about being chased and bullied by them, and he's wondering why. This is another of his perspectives, and it's related to his previous life. Okay? We cannot really answer these questions. We can just be certain that they're both dead. So we went to say all that. Conclusion. They're both dead. Again. They're dead. Okay? And you'll soon get to know what happened next. Okay. Destiny. Spoilers from the TV show Lost up ahead. Okay. If you ever watched Lost, you know that at the end of the show, they were all dead, but they didn't know about it because they weren't together. This is something the show calls the afterlife. Their destiny was to meet up with each other so that they could realize they died together and that they could be together again. This is exactly what happens in Limbo. The boy does not know that he's dead, and he's afraid of what's going on around him, but he keeps going to find his sister because that's his destiny and purpose. Spoilers from Silent Hill, Shattered Memories. The same goes to Silent Hill. The place is basically limbo. In Silent Hill, Silent Memories, the father, Harry Mason, is desperate looking for his daughter, encountering strange, unusual things along his way. But he never questions them. Why? Because his only purpose is to find his daughter, nothing else. Same thing goes for Limbo. Good parallel. Just looking for, they're driven by one thing and one thing. We know that his sister is dead. Okay, guys, for sure, this time, right now, she's dead. In case you didn't get it before, she's dead now. Oh my goodness. Okay. We know that his sister is dead because we see her in Limbo. So he's really on this dead Limbo thing. Did you ever see Harry's daughter in Silent Hill? No, because you only get to see the people you are supposed to, and you wouldn't see a living person. I think he meant the opposite. No, because you only get to see the people you are supposed to, and you wouldn't see a living person. Oh, I don't know the story for Silent Hill, so he's right. Never mind. It's the boy's main priority to find his sister, probably a promise that he made to his parents the night they were murdered. The parents were murdered? Okay. A lot of inference. I mean, there's no parents mentioned. I think you should leave the parents out of the situation. That's just me, though. The promise is now haunting the boy. Indeed. At the end of the game, the boy finds his sister burying him. As soon as he walks close to her, the game ends. This can only be easily explained. The moment they see each other is the moment they realize they're both dead. Okay, again, they're both. Let me get this straight. They're both dead, guys. They're dead. They're DEAD. Okay. Now that we got that out the way, let's continue. The sister sees the boy, and it is obvious that they're somewhere else. And the boy fulfills his final wish and finds his sister, and they are now together again. Good. In some cases, they are now living in the afterlife. Explaining whether or not they went to heaven is something else. And that is not what I was trying to explain. I hope I could explain everything about this game. If you ever have any other questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll briefly explain them to you. Wow. So this person is absolutely like thinks they know it, dude. The following information is not a theory. Now back to our theory. Yep. That is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. Pause video to read. Unpauses and waits 5 seconds. Repeat. Oh no, not all the information is theory. The beginning states for sure, aka not theory, facts. And it describes the theory using facts as evidence. That's funny. Oh man, Fast Frank, the entire video is a theory. Nothing mentioned here is certain. Okay. Wow. All right. Well, here we go. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. Thanks guys for tuning in. That was fun. I think we still don't know the theory like at all. I would say probably boy, what would be the like explanation? I think the car accident is plausible, but that's only based off of the window shattering. It could be any number of things. Um, I think the World War II vibes make the most sense, but the gravity stuff really throws everything for a whack. But that could be explained by the car wreck. The gravity going everywhere kind of makes sense. Yeah, he dies in the crash or dies somehow. Man, there's not really a good explanation, but Limbo, I think definitely is for sure like he's in like a in between afterlife or whatever. And it could be that she's also in the afterlife, like the theory explains that last one, but I don't know. I mean, there's so many good things. I almost feel like it's a mixture of both the reality and the non-reality. So it's like he's almost a ghost, but also in limbo. I don't know. It's not, it's like he's both. I don't know. It's very interesting. Now that we can finally close this, so this is like the end of my limbo thing. If something comes up later on, then we'll definitely take a look back at it. But I think right now the only time coming back to Limbo would be watching the Limbo story and it explained, and then the Limbo and Inside a shared universe after we play Inside. So yeah. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please share the video and like the video if you liked it. Dislike it too. Don't mind it bother me. And then yeah, then just yeah, share the video. That's important. Help us grow. All right. Thank you. See you guys. Bye bye.